Hi and welcome to Upbreak. I am Danielle Robson and I run Soda, a curatorial consultancy in Sydney. And I'd like to start by acknowledging that I am making this call today on the traditional lands of the Gadigal and Wongal peoples of the Eora Nation, and to acknowledge that our Indigenous artists are our first artists. So if this is your first Outbreak that you're joining along with, the idea is very simple. For 15 minutes once a fortnight at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, I jump online with an artist and chat about their work and what they're up to at the moment. So today I am being joined by the very excellent photographer and artist Luke Shadbolt. So please just bear with me while I bring him up. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good.
It's nice to put a face to the name.
Yes, I know. We've had lots of phone calls, but no video calls. But here we are. Well, Luke, thank you so much for joining me. To start off with, I am just going to do a very brief introduction to you and your work before we get into it. So you are a surf photographer turned extreme weather chaser and visual artist.
That's a pretty good summary, yeah.
And you started out doing what you told me was your dream job as a surf photographer, traveling the world, traveling incessantly. And then after about 5 or 6 years, you made the leap into a more refined fine arts practice, which perhaps when we talk, you can tell us a little bit more about that leap and what was behind that. But yes, moving into the more sort of art world, so to speak, is something that you've done with quite a bang. So your first exhibition was with Michael Reed in Sydney, and shout out to Marissa Bateman if you're watching, who was instrumental in that. And so that was in 2016, I think, your first show with them.
It was, or towards the end, yeah, it was, sorry, 2016, yeah.
Yeah, great. And you've had 3 very successful shows with them, the most recent of which, Spieling, just closed at the end of last month. But everything's still viewable on the Michael Reed website, obviously. And I'm also delighted to be working with you. A few of your works have been curated into Wonder and Dread, the Art in the Land of Weather Extremes, which is a show that opens at the Shoalhaven Regional Gallery in December this year. And when I found your work and I discovered your work, it just so perfectly captured that moment of kind of awe and terror. And I think
it's always interesting when you speak to other people about your own work, because you kind of get more of an insight into, I guess, what other people's perceptions are. But yeah, it was actually really great when we first spoke about that show, because it was kind of a nice summary that I hadn't really put together in my own head before. So yeah, it was good.
And it's funny because I think a lot about, when we're sort of selecting which works, I'm trying to pick the works that are, make the person who will be standing in front of them feel that most intently. And whilst I'm thinking about that, I'm like, Luke was standing right where we want people to. So what were you thinking when you're standing in front of these gigantic waves, but, out there in the world? So
yeah,
maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
That's part, like the main reason I do it is to be out there and be experiencing it in first person. Like to have a photo or some like video footage of it to take home is more just to be able to link back to that memory. But like just to be in front of nature and witnessing these such extremities, that's what it's all about for me. Yeah. And so a lot of I'm not really in any danger a lot of the time, but depending on the location, and there can always be like a swell surge, or if the tide comes up. I've got some weird stories, some wild stories, but we can go into some of those if you'd like, but they'll probably take too long.
Well, it's funny because when you look at them, some of them, I mean, you've since told me that you're on the shore, but when I looked at them, I wasn't sure whether you were out there, like on a surfboard in the water, trying like how are you that?
I have, I mean, a lot of when I'm shooting surf photography, I'll either be swimming or on a board, and some of the places I've shot my exhibition series, originally I did try and shoot from water on much smaller days, and that was still just, you know, very impossible. So I quickly realized that it was a lot safer just to do from the shore, but actually possible to do from the shore. But there were times where I was standing, if certain sets would come up, would completely wipe me out. So I have to sort of always keep an eye on the shore. Occasionally I'll have a spotter that can be keeping an eye on things for me as well. And even just like a lot of the locations are quite remote. So to have another hand in the field and just to make sure if I, you know, trip and twist an ankle, it's always good to have someone else there.
Yeah, I can imagine in that situation. Yes, it would. And so, actually, so just where are you at the moment? Are you in your studio or where?
Right now, I'm just sitting in my little loft office up at my house in North of Oka. My wife and I came back to us. My wife and I have been living in New York for around the last 2 years, but we came back in December to get out of winter in New York and for the birth of our first child, which has been...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had my first Father's Day last weekend.
Oh, yes. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. We actually,
did you get some sleep?
Yeah, we get a pretty good amount of sleep. Like, she does the basics well, good sleeping and good feeding. So we, can't complain. But we had her in April, and it was just after sort of COVID kicked off, and it was all very weird. We weren't even sure if I was going to be allowed in the delivery room. But then since then, it's been great because we kind of have just been in a bubble and been enjoying family time. But yeah, so here in North of Oka, for this foreseeable future, we wanted to be back in New York around now, but it'll just be see how things pan out.
Yep. Yeah. Amazing. And so, I mean, you've talked a little bit about your process for how you capture the films, but maybe do you want to talk a little bit about the process for, you know, how you decide where to go and your sort of monitoring of the weather patterns that you do?
Yeah. So I guess when I was shooting surfing a lot, I was going around all these different locations around Australia and internationally. And I kind of had certain locations that I knew could produce the sort of things that I was interested in shooting. And it's just a matter of waiting for that one swell and one storm a year that would do the sort of crazy shapes that I was wanting to capture. And it's just a matter of monitoring, the swell and the wind and tides and all the weather patterns. And it's often a really last minute thing. So I might have to just drop everything and either fly or drive wherever I need to go. And it usually only lasts a day, 2 days, maybe a week. And I try and get as much as I can within that time period. A lot of the time you can prepare as much as you can, but I can't predict what the light is going to be like and time of year, and so it's really just being adaptable and trying to work with the elements.
Yeah. And so what are you looking for when you're on location?
Well, I'm mostly looking for just the most chaotic and ridiculous shapes that I can find, almost sort of unbelievable looking things. I think that stems from having kind of grown up surfing and always chasing these perfect waves, and it was kind of like a reversal of that and trying to, I guess, find a balance there. But it's also just the most interesting things for me are always the most chaotic or extreme, and being in these storms and these extreme weather events, just to get to experience back to the experience. And that
And so what are you working on at the moment?
At the moment I'm working on a book project from that has extended from that first series. So hopefully I can get that out this year. And then I've got an exhibition here on the Central Coast of New South Wales later this year, which I'm helping curate, which is all around sort of contemporary surf photography. So there'll be a little bit of sort of the traditional style of surf photography, but also it's kind of incorporating more of environmental aspect and certain technological aspects, but also touching into that sort of sense of community and ritual. So it'll be a group show with 3 other artists at the Gosford Regional Gallery here on the Central Coast.
Great. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And so is there a project that really stands out for you as one that was just particularly monumental?
Well, I've only done a few projects in a sort of fine art sense, so I guess, but to answer your question in a different way, I feel like every time I finish something, it's more I want to move on to the next thing. I kind of get sick of looking at my own work, so I guess it's part of. I don't want to find myself complacent, so I'm always looking to the next thing. Yeah. That kind of answers that question.
Yes, that's a very good question. And so what do you see as the value of art? Or actually, maybe before we jump into that question, could you explain a little bit about your jump from surf photographer to more of an arts practice?
Yeah, I feel like I've just kind of come in the back door in a way. I had been working with a freelance curator, your friend Marissa Bateman, and she had approached me for some of her clients. They were looking for ocean-related pieces, and I just shot what I thought was worthy of an exhibition show, and I pitched it to her, and she said, "Okay, yeah, I really like this. I'll pitch this to some galleries and see what we can do, but usually this isn't really how it works, and I don't think anything will come of this." And I was like, okay, great. I mean, let's just, I very much just, as a person, I tend to just go with things and see where they take me. And it seemed very much like that. So she pitched it to Michael Reed, and it just so happened that it was poetic timing, and they had a slot to fill that coincided with the Head-On Photo Festival. So it had to be a photography show. And yeah, it was just really well timed, the universe lining up, and so we put on that first show, and I've been working with them ever since.
Yeah. And so does that mean that you're not doing as much surf photography anymore?
Not as much in a commercial sense, but there's still certain like ideas or projects that I'll be working on if and when I have the time. Yeah, so still dabbling in the surf photography realm, and then I mean a lot of what I do is still in that sort of realm as well.
Yeah, great. And so then the clangor of a question that I always end with is, so what do you see as the value of art?
Yeah, this one had me pretty stumped. I feel like my perception of art has changed dramatically, especially probably over the last 4 years since, I guess, being more involved in fine art and trying to understand why I do what I do. But yeah, originally it was very much I wanted things to look nice and hang on a wall. And as much as that still, I think, is a factor, whether it has to look nice or just have an impact, but it's more, I think, about the impact of art is to be able to tell a story and try and create conversations. And it's also there, I mean, there's so much imagery in the world now to be able to really refine a piece of art or a single visual, and for it to have so much behind it, I think is a real power of art. And and that's part of the power.
Yeah. Great. No, it's a really big question.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so if people want to see your work or stay in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
That would definitely be Instagram is probably the best way to keep in touch. That's probably where I update the most consistent work and the latest work. You can see all of my fine art exhibition work through the Michael Reed Gallery website, which is michaelreed.com.au, and also my website, lukeshadbolt.com. But yeah, those will be the three main places to keep up.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so good to talk to you. And yes, put a face to the voice after all this time.
And yeah, thanks very much for including me in Wonder and Dread. I'm really excited to be involved in that as well.
You're very welcome. Look, it's going to be a really good show. Hopefully we can have some kind of opening event or something to go with it. But
yeah,
there'll be something. We'll see what happens. But look, thank you again. And look, this video, like all the Artbreak videos, will be on the Soda Instagram TV channel. They also end up on the Soda website. If you want to get in touch, or if you want to just let me know what you think about today's talk and the best thing about, this chat with Luke, feel free to DM me or, just stay in touch at hello@sodaarts.com.au. Thanks, Luke. Take care. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.